Welcome back to OutSolve's Weekly Outlook, where we bring you the news that impacts your workplace. I'm here with Jeremy Mancheski, OutSolve founder and CEO. Jeremy, let's kick it right off. Can you start by telling us about how the new executive order 14398, a new number I have to learn, how that's affecting federal contractors?
Sure. I think we're all sick of numbers, aren't we? They
So
make
many
no
executive
sense.
orders.
It's called Addressing DEI Discrimination by Federal Contractors. Let's think of this as the next step in this administration's monitoring of merit-based employment. Let's not refer to it as anti-DEI. Let's call it merit-based employment. First thing I think we have to define is what does this do for us? Okay, what does this tell us? It's obviously informative, and then we need to talk about why it's important, and then probably what we as federal contractors need to do about it. Okay, so what is it? Well, it gives us a definition, and that's important. For the purposes of this order, racially discriminatory DEI activities means, and this is an important part, disparate treatment based on race or ethnicity in the recruitment, employment, example, hiring, and promotions, remember that, contracting, vendor agreements, also remember that, program participation or allocation or deployment of entity resources. What's missing, I think, is critical right away. Only talks about race, not gender, and I think that's important. Most notably, though, this gives us a definition of racially discriminatory DEI activities. If you've heard us talk on these before, they've always referred to illegal DEI. And I've commented before, anything with the subtext illegal is by definition illegal. If these glasses were illegal glasses, well, they'd be illegal, and we wouldn't know how to define that. But so it was kind of a non-starter to understand what illegal DEI was. Now we talk specifically about racially discriminatory DEI activity. So we have a definition that's going to lead to enforcement. Next thing we have are requirements, and that's important for us. Some of the requirements are, of course, you won't, as the contractor, engage in racially discriminatory DEI activities. Pretty important. You will furnish, as a federal contractor or subcontractor, all information and reports, including providing access to books, records, and accounts as required by the contracting agent. So now we're setting up the contracting agency as potential enforcement. And we'll hear about False Claims Act in a minute. We'll also hear how you as the contractor are responsible for federal subcontractors. So lots of ways to find enforcement here. So providing access to books, records, etc., that's relatively new as well, because previously this was all mention of illegal DEI was silent on the context of records. So here we have establishing need for records. In the event of a contractor's or subcontractor's non-compliance with the clause, the contract may be canceled, terminated, suspended, and then I'll go on to just say, gotten rid of, you're gone, you can't do work with the federal government. That's strong, and that's important. We saw last year letters go out to law firms talking about illegal DEI at the time. Many of those law firms immediately settled with the federal government. We're going to talk about IBM in a minute. I think there are many who are very concerned about their contracts being canceled. I actually, as I'm filming this, got off an airplane a half an hour ago. I was at a conference speaking, and Craig Lean, former OFCCP director in Trump 1, was there, and he spoke as well. One of the questions he received was how many contractors did he debar, in other words, eliminate from the federal contracting process during his entire term at OFCCP? And the answer was a very specific number, 0. I have been doing this type of work for 30 years. I can count on one hand the number of debarred contractors. And then it has been extremely egregious situations. It is clear the federal government will not tolerate violation here. So critical to your business. Many of our customers, federal contractors, subcontractors, generate a lot of revenue based on those federal contracts or subcontracts, and putting that risk is not important. Other requirements, and I think this one is really important. You as the federal contractor will report any subcontractor known or reasonably knowable conduct that may violate this cause to the contracting department or agency, and take any appropriate remedial actions directed by the contracting department or agency. So now you're not just responsible for you and your contract and your conduct. You're responsible for that of your subcontractors. So you have to be concerned. Couple other procedural type requirements, but generally speaking, that's what this executive order says.
Yeah, adds a lot more definition that we've been really seeking over the course of time. And you talked about some of the risks, debarment being one of them that's a little more explicitly clear in this executive order. Any other risks that we should call out for subcontractors and contractors if they're found non-compliant?
Yes, and IBM has learned this very, very recently. They settled a $17 million claim just this week based on the False Claims Act. Quick review of the False Claims Act. There is encouragement via what they call the Quitam Act. This encourages whistleblowers. So think employees, people walking by your building, anyone who might have viewed your website, a contractor whom you work for, and you're a subcontractor. There is an encouragement. In fact, they are encouraged financially, because there is the remedy to be a whistleblower to you. The basic theory is you have a contract with the federal government, and you are making claims to the federal government via that contract that you are acting accordingly. Now, there's going to be new contracting language coming out, and many of you will see that in your federal contracts, and then the federal contractors will have to roll that down to their subcontracts, but that you will have merit-based employment. And if you do not have merit-based employment, the False Claims Act says that the federal government can collect damages because, in theory, you made a false claim in your contract and therefore can be subject to damages. That's where IBM falls in here. $17 million paid out based on the False Claims Act.
And so if agencies kind of can demand documentation from contractors, what do you recommend that contractors do specifically?
I think it's pretty simple. You have to have analysis, possibly consider underprivilege. Many of you do, many of you don't, and that's a personal decision. But if you're going to be asked for records, you want to know what those records say. If your federal contract is going to be challenged, you want to have documentation to follow up, to refute, to comment on the allegation. And if you don't have records, you have really no way to refute.
And also important for contractors to know, when does all of this take effect?
Frankly, right away. The federal contracting agencies have until, I believe it's the 25th or 26th of April, to start putting this into federal contracting language. The fact is, and the reality is, with IBM, I think we're already seeing enforcement. Comment on another piece here. For many years, the OFCCP was the primary enforcement agency. We know they've got a big budget. We also know that proposed into the 2027 budget, they may or may not be around, but we also know that enforcement of the Vietnam-era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act and that Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act will remain within Department of Labor, whether it's OFCCP or some other agency. Now you have many agencies deputized. And as I mentioned with Director Lean saying, he collected some remedy, no doubt, for OFCCP, had not debarred any contractors or subcontractors in his tenure. Now we have all kinds of agencies involved and directly attacking federal contracts and subcontracts.
Important to note, OutSolve consultants are always here to help support any regulatory changes and shifts, especially related to this new executive order and how it may impact your business. We also held a webinar last week on this topic, and you can view that on demand. Go to outsolve.com/events to take a look and watch that webinar back. And as a reminder, California pay data reports are due on May 13th. Our consultants are here to help file or answer any questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out. And calling out some of our upcoming webinars. April 22nd, Pay Transparency Best Practices, a practical playbook for HR and total rewards. May 13th, Compliant Recruiting, from job posts to day one. June 24th, Compliance Checkup, mid-year reviews HR cannot skip. And again, you can register for all of these by going to outsolve.com/events. And don't forget to check out HR Gumbo City, OutSolve Slack community for HR professionals, where we talk about these topics and more, as well as release checklists, guides, and other research reports that help HR professionals. So go to outsolve.com/HRG-city to join today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.